Hi, it's Cassie, Artist in Residence with Imagine. Today we're going to make our own pattern background paper for a Christmas card using VersaFine Clair Ink. So first I'm using the Morning Mist VersaFine Clair Ink, which is a beautiful gray, and I'm using a large sponge dauber to put the ink all over the white cardstock, and really I want it to be sort of distressed and not perfect. So I'm also using ink potion number 9 and water spritzed onto it, and you'll see in the close-up that it gives it sort of a dimpled look. Really distresses it nicely. And then I'm using Cloud White VersaFine Magic ink with this music stamp to help create my pattern background. I'm stamping first, second, third, fourth generation of this stamp just to give it the whites, good depth. So then I'm using firework spray and London fog to add a little bit of silver shimmer, and then also the goosebump spray in shimmer. I'm spraying it directly onto this cardstock because it is a Christmas card, so I like to have a little bit of shimmer or glitter in there. Now this all-purpose ink in cool gray works beautifully with the Morning Mist VersaFine Clair Ink. I also used it to define the edges a little bit. Then I'm coming in with the Pico Embellisher in black to splatter a little bit in the background, but then also I really liked using this to define that border and to give it a nice framed look. Remember, that dries dimensional and glossy, so that's going to finish it off nicely. And look at all the detail there you can see in that background. I loved making this pattern paper background. So now I'm using this beautiful stamp that's got a pine cone and evergreen branches in it, and I really wanted the color of the stamp to be both brown and green. So I'm using small sponge daubers and VersaFine Clair in pine cone, which is the brown color, appropriate. And also Rainforest is the green color. And so I'm just coloring each of the pieces, the appropriate colors, and using my mask that I created and stamping it 4 times along the top of that cardstock. I wanted the bottom portion of that cardstock to be the edge of those evergreen branches and not just a straight line. I thought that would frame nicely on that background paper that we made. So I cut the bottom of the evergreen branches there. I really like the way that turned out. So then I really want to color, sort of have a watercolor look to the white portions of this cardstock that we've stamped. So I used clear gesso so that I could use memento markers to color over it and have it give it sort of a watercolor look. But using the markers instead of actual watercolor paint, excuse me. So here I'm coming in with Tuxedo Black first as the darker shade for the shadow. And then I have London Fog as the lighter gray. That's going to give it a nice gradation and tone there. And then I also decided to cover the entire white part of the cardstock with that London Fog in the gray, because I just felt like the white was a little bit too stark for this particular card and for this stamped image. And so I just using a paintbrush and water went over the entire stamped image and really just toned it down a little bit. And then I came back in with a little bit more of the Tuxedo Black on the bottom to define those bottom edges, so that when we put it onto the background pattern paper that we made, then it stands out just a little bit more. So I remember I sprayed this shimmer Goosebumps onto the background, so I wanted to add that same shimmer to the top here, sort of bring it all together and add just a tiny subtle bit of shimmer to the card. I cut a strip of black cardstock just to define that top edge. Again, it's all about framing and layering to help draw your eye around the card. Here I am using foam tape just to lift it off of that background just a little bit to give it a little bit of a pop. And then I have a sentiment set that says Christmas greetings, and I'm using VersaFine Clair Nocturne, of course, best black ever, and black embossing powder just to give it a little bit of dimension and shine. And then finally I'm taking some black twine and I'm going to wrap it around the top of that cardstock 3 times. You want to do it an odd number of times that's more visually interesting and stimulating. So then we're using Tear tape again to just adhere it to our card base. This is a 5.5 by 5.5 inch card. I've been making those a lot more lately. They're really fun to work with. It's a nice format to use. And I thought since this is a Christmas card that I would like to also decorate the envelope. So I'm doing the same technique that I did for the card, and I'm coloring in the pine cone and the evergreen, stamping it in the corner there, and then I'm going to use the mask to cover it up while I splatter a little bit of walnut ink stain, and that's in the walnut color as well. And then I wanted to tie in that gray because there's so much gray in that card, and I really liked that music stamp. So we're going to put a little bit of that on just the flap. I thought that would be a nice touch. So again, stamping first, second, third, fourth, fifth generation with this ink. I think that adds nice depth and texture. And then we're going to put just a little bit of that walnut spray on the background too, just to finish it off. So there you can see the pair of them look so nice together. It just adds a nice touch to do that envelope. This card was so fun to make. VersaFine Clair Ink is so rich and so beautiful. It makes great pattern papers that you can use and customize to make any kind of background. I hope you found some inspiration here today. Please visit imaginecrafts.com for more inspiration. Thank you so much.